Saturday edition of Pro Football Today. We're finally here, Joe. AFC, NFC Championship Weekend, as we like to call it. No games today, but our goal to get you ready for the action that's going to take place tomorrow, and more importantly, who's going to wind up in the Super Bowl. Donnie, Rightside, Joe, Lisi, ready to go. 2 hours, we got you covered today as a beautiful preview show.
Yeah, and then there were four, right?
Yeah.
4 remaining teams. 3 of them have starting quarterbacks. One is going to be going with a quarterback that hasn't started a game, Donnie, since 2022, played in preseason action. I'm talking about Jared Stidham going up against his former team. That's the storyline in the early game, and then a rematch. You know, game number 3 for the Rams and Seattle. What gives? Rams did lose the last time they played, had a dominating first-half lead. They allowed it to slip. Can Sam Darnold and that Seattle magic continue? We'll see how it plays out tomorrow.
We like to say, Joe, like how we got here, right? You take a look at last week's games on Saturday. The Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos went to overtime in that game, a 33-30 thriller. That's all. The Broncos come away with a victory, but also in that game, right in the press conference, you get, head coach Sean Payton back to the presser. Hey, guys, bad news. My quarterback's out for the season with a broken ankle. When you heard that, Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, bittersweet, right? If you're Denver, sitting on a Denver Bronco ticket, not to just win the AFC championship, potentially a Super Bowl championship, that's a huge knock and blow. It's going to have to be the defense that steps up. As long as Stidham potentially doesn't turn the ball over, they have a shot. Obviously, we saw the line go from 4.5 immediately to 5.5. They brought it back down. But if you're Denver and you're Sean Payton, this is exactly why you brought in Sean Payton, right? Not only to coach up Bo Nix and some of the younger players, but to potentially put your team in a position. He's going to have to do a great job against New England. They're hot. It is their first road game. But again, Donnie, when you look at the flip side and the loss for the Bills, ultimately cost Sean McDermott his job, right? They said during the week that McDermott was fired based off the results of that game. So right now, Buffalo's searching for answers as well.
It's not about feeling bad for like a fan base, or sometimes you get bad breaks, but it's one of those where you didn't even see it coming. Like, Joe, let's just say Bo Nix broke his ankle in the third quarter. You saw it, you can get ready for it. Oh, no. This was a championship game, or a chance to go to the AFC championship game. They win. You even saw, like, in midfield, like, Bo Nix dapping it up with Josh Allen, and then you just get that news. Like, you wanted to do, like, a second take, like the Onion article write this up, and I saw that Adam Schefter tweet out there that he was going to be out. That's a devastating blow. I think the championship aspirations of the Denver Broncos now up in smoke, but that doesn't mean, Joe, they still can't win this football game, compete, and maybe even get to a Super Bowl and maybe win it at that point. But that 33-30 game was interesting, and also, as Joe just pointed out, Sean McDermott fired. Let's keep it there. Like, I was really surprised that happened, but, Joe, I could have seen it if they blew out the head coach and the general manager. They kept the GM and basically buried McDermott.
Yeah, again, I guess, when you think about just who was left in the playoffs and the lack of experience at the quarterback position, this was for potentially Buffalo and Josh Allen's for the taking, right? No Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. He didn't have his best game against Denver, but they still put up 30 points. And what gives, right? Bo Nix throws for 279, multiple touchdowns. The defense didn't step up. They lost the turnover battle. And you can make the argument that that was because of Sean McDermott or lack of preparation, not having maybe the team prepared. But again, it does come down to personnel for Buffalo. I mean, it's Josh Allen, James Cook, and everybody else, Donnie. That ultimately, doesn't it fall on the GM and the organization? But again, McDermott is the fall guy. I know that right now they still don't have a head coach. Is it Phil Rivers or is it Brian Dable or some of the others that they mentioned? If they were in love with Brady, why haven't they given him the job right now, Donnie?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of questions, and we'll certainly get to those coaching carousel moves a little bit later in the show, Joe. But the Saturday Night Football game last week, San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, that game was over quick. Shaheed to the house right off the bat, 41-6 final. I thought that the Niners were the weakest team entering into the football field in the playoffs. The Eagles were terrible, and the 49ers got a lot of credit for that game. Shanahan did a wonderful job this year. That team had no talent by the time it came down to playing the Seattle Seahawks, but Seattle blew them out. But here's the questions that we're also going to bring up today. You didn't need Sam Darnold to do a whole lot.
No.
And in this week of practice, Joe, didn't do a whole lot. He's going to have to do a lot more than he needed to do last week against the 49ers, but the Seahawks were so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the kickoff return by Shaheed really set the tone. It seemed like San Francisco was dead and buried right from the get-go. And as bad as that last regular season game went, where they only put up 3 points, you thought, even with a limited crew, that Shanahan would have a different type of game plan, right? They would have be able to at least move the football with Brock Purdy. He throws for less than 200 yards, can't get the football out early and often to the wideouts. Pearsall and Jawan Jennings were non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, McCaffrey was limited. And when you look at Seattle, we know about the defense, but can Sam Darnold in a crunch, forget the regular season, can they do it in the playoffs? That still remains to be seen. We don't know right now because of how dominant they have been on the defensive side of the ball. Sam Darnold basically has coasted up until this point. He's still limited potentially with that oblique, but Stafford's going to bring it. It's their third straight road game. They didn't play well against Chicago. He's going to chuck it. Devontae, Puka, they're going to get theirs. Can Seattle match them? Ultimately will dictate whether they get the win or not.
Exactly. And I think what Joe's also trying to say, same thing most people look forward to, is Matthew Stafford, expectations are going to perform well. Sam Darnold's still up in the air at this point. And also that oblique injury we're going to hit time and time again in this show today to see if that's healthy, or at least what we think might be healthy for Sam Darnold in this game. Sunday games last week, Joe, the Patriots 28, the Texans 16. As Dan Orlovsky said and then apologized for it, 31 other quarterbacks could have won this game. And Joe, I'm telling you right now, you could have played quarterback in that game, and the Texans would have won that game. C.J. Stroud looked like he was trying to actively turn the football over every single play. Patriots move on.
Yeah, consistently, not dialed in, you could say. It happened against Pittsburgh. His defense bailed him out with the scoop and score against Aaron Rodgers. And again, when you turn the football over as many times as C.J. Stroud did, you put your defense at a disadvantage, put your team at a disadvantage. And I don't think Orlovsky was wrong in saying, 31 other quarterbacks could have stepped up and has played much more consistent than C.J. Stroud. It's unfortunate, but we've seen this now from Houston throughout the playoffs the last 3 years. They've been knocked out of the divisional round. But I'll give credit where credit is due. Vrabel and that offense for New England now starting to hit on all cylinders. They got the rushing attack with Ramondre Stevenson. We saw Booty and Diggs hit pay dirt last week. If that continues, Donnie, against a good defense in Denver, because James Cook got some yards, if that continues, New England's going to be in the Super Bowl.
I'm telling you right now, too, the interesting part about the Patriots, we talked so much about C.J. Stroud turnover prone in that game. Drake May fumbled the ball 4 times in that game, did lose 2 of those, but also threw an interception. You got a really, really good pass rush coming to town this week with the Denver Broncos. See if that makes a difference. That Sunday night football game, Joe, massive ratings, overtime winner. The Los Angeles Rams 20-17 over the Chicago Bears. We had everything in that game, including another ridiculous Caleb Williams throw. It just wasn't enough, but the Rams were able to get done in overtime, Joe, in advance.
I'll go to the throw, Donnie. Have you ever seen that on a 4th and goal?
I don't.
I mean, that was a 40-yard miraculous Hail Mary, and for Caleb to pull that out just shows what the ceiling is or where he can go next year in Ben Johnson's offense. But again, the Rams did not play their best. They found ways to force turnovers and put their team in a position. Chicago had the opportunity to close the door and potentially move on to Seattle. They couldn't do it, and that's what a veteran team does. McVay came out and said he didn't make the best play calls. He put his team at a disadvantage. He'll be much more consistent and dialed in this week. I believe that. But again, when you basically limit Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, the rushing attack with Kyron and Blake Corum wasn't there, and they were still able to win that game by 3 points. It just shows you how much and what type of level you have to play to beat the Rams, and that's what Seattle's up against. But I will say this, in a loss, I was still impressed with Ben Johnson. Again, he's a gutty riverboat gambler. Yeah. He makes decisions. He lives by them. And this team is bought in. In year number 2, they are going to be the potential team, barring any major injury. They are I think they're ahead of where Jaden Daniels in Washington was because of the offensive talent that they have.
And also the ability, Joe, just to be down in football games by double digits, and it doesn't matter because of how talented your quarterback is. And if anybody didn't watch the play, I don't know where you were, just a 4th down, let me run straight backwards, pivot, and throw in a rocket from 40 yards to the back of the end zone for a touchdown, which is absolutely unbelievable. We got a great show for you set up. It's your boy DRS along with Joe Lisi. We'll be right back after this short break. More Pro Football Today. 7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major?
would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos. That's going to be game number 1 on Sunday afternoon, the AFC Championship game from Denver. Joe, I want to start here because, we have the injuries we'll get to, we have the spread, we have the total and all that. But I always like to focus sometimes on the weather conditions and maybe what the impact is going to be. 20-degree temperatures at the start of that football game, Joe. No precipitation in the forecast and winds under 10 miles per hour. Cold conditions, yes, but certainly manageable here. So now let's jump into it. You're looking at the favorite in this game, which would have been the Denver Broncos had we not seen a injury to Bo Nix, which now has Jarrett Stidham as the starting quarterback. The total in this game, Joe, listed at 42.5, and even now, Joe, we're seeing 43.5 in the marketplace. People starting to trust Jarrett Stidham. Perfect jump-off point, Joe. Bo Nix goes down. Stidham inserted into that lineup. What do you think the effects on the Broncos offense will be?
I don't think it's going to be that limited. Again, we're not talking about a rookie with no big game experience. Yeah. He was brought in by Sean Payton because he believed in the backup and he believed that he can run his type of scheme in a pinch or in a tough situation. So it's going to come down to, as long as Stidham doesn't turn the football over, I think they could put up points. Problem is they're banged up at the wide receiver position. Yeah. Troy Franklin went down. Pat Bryant went down in the first quarter. Bryant's listed for totals. Troy Franklin isn't. Yeah. It'll be Marvin Mims, Sutton, and Evan Ingram so far in that offense. Can he deliver the football and go through the reads and progressions and potentially put his team in a position? And more importantly, Donnie, this is the biggest thing, and if you like Denver, and the reason why I think now they would be favored is I was very impressed with Bo Nix's performance against Buffalo, but they're 9-1 at home. Yeah. The only loss came when they lost that matchup to Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence is a 3.5-point favorite in that matchup the week after they beat Green Bay. Can they score touchdowns as opposed to field goals in the red zone? That's where I don't think Stidham will have a problem in between the 30. So I like his yardage prop. I think when we attack this total, it's going to be, okay, are we going to get the same amount of touchdowns or the possibility to score touchdowns with Stidham as opposed to Nix? And I think that's where you have to weigh. I still like Denver, and I lean to the side, but I still think we can get points in this matchup because I'll believe in Stidham to at least get us a couple of touchdowns in this matchup against New England. It's fascinating, too, because I thought Bo Nix has been tremendous. And, boy, we're really missing out on what we thought was going to be Drake May, versus Bo Nix, that second-year quarterback who's going to take control of the AFC for the next decade or so. We're not going to get that. But Jarrett Stidham, make no mistake about it, Joe, we were seeing numbers as low as like 188.5 on his passing prop.
He's now up at FanDuel looking at 200.5, so people are buying in. Last week, Nick's statistics, 279 in the air, 29 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. So for me, Joe, like if this would have happened like in-game, yeah, Stidham's ice cold coming into a game. You have an entire week to sort of build that game plan around him. And also, odds makers, Joe, they're pretty smart. They don't just throw things out there. Last week, Bo Nix was a 20.5 completion number on FanDuel. 19.5 is Stidham's number. Right. They're expecting him just to fill in.
Yeah, and and not only that, but the 19.5 is if you believe New England's the right side and they're trailing, he's going to have to throw football in that matchup. The biggest thing, too, I think, if you watch that game against Buffalo, the scripted plays for Sean Payton early on, they moved right down the field. Remember they had the fumble where they inside the 5-yard line, and they came away with basically a field goal as opposed to a touchdown. But again, they moved right down the field on Buffalo. So you got to believe with Stidham, I don't think Payton pulls back the reins because, all right, it's not Bo. Bo is obviously playing at his best level heading into this matchup. But it's got to be, hey, we're going in, we're going to be aggressive in the passing attack, and then that'll open up the rushing attack. Because, Donnie, if they go run on first down, run on second down, 3rd and 8, they're going to get blown out in this matchup. They have to be more aggressive on the early downs, and that's why I do like – I don't know about the touchdowns. I still think he can lead touchdowns, but I feel more confident with the yardage with Stidham, getting to 2.25 or potentially 250 if they're trailing.
Yeah, as Joe's pointing out, like, again, coaches don't change their stripes. Sean Payton wants to throw the football. He has Stidham there because he believes he can execute the same offense that Bo Nix can. Now, can he do it at the same level? We're going to find that out. But also understanding that you are now getting a premium here if you do want to take the New England Patriots, because you look at the Broncos, they're supposed to be the favorites now. They're not, Joe. And all week long, as we looked at that price point, opened up at 4.5, goes to 5.5 quickly, back to 5, back to 4.5 now. And even, Joe, some outlets here, take a look at the Westgate, even in Vegas, listed at -4 right now. So let me ask you this as well. Patriots, Broncos, 3 p.m. start tomorrow. Where does that line end up, do you believe?
Ooh, I would be shocked if we get 3.5s in the market.
Oh, man, I can't believe. I don't think we get that,
I don't think we get that. I think, if anything, maybe we see a little more money come in on New England. But again, here's the thing that, we're bashing Denver, and rightfully so. You're on a backup quarterback. Yeah. I mean, Bo Nix put up 279 on that defense. And the throws, the throw to little Jordan Humphrey and Marvin Mims, with the pressure in that type of game, he made those throws. But, this is a true road game for New England. They've had 2 home games against inept offenses and more, I want to say, defensive-minded head coaches. Harbaugh didn't want to open it up with Justin Herbert on the road. You could see that. They were short to intermediate throws. Peyton's going to challenge them vertically. We're not putting a lot of weight into Drake May on the road in this environment. This is not going to be easy in Mile High. And even though the defense is susceptible maybe to the run, that secondary is going to lock down potentially Diggs and Booty. He's going to have to make plays potentially with his legs. So, again, I'd be shocked if we see 3.5s. I think, if anything, we see a little more money come in New England and maybe 4.5 because it is a backup.
It's crazy, too. Just watching Bet365 right now just moved to -4 as well. So that sort of emphasis on, hey, we don't know what Stidham's going to be Monday. A lot of good reports coming out of Denver, how good he looks in practice. Now, granted, they're not going to tell you.
Right.
Hey, man, Stidham got picked off 6 times on Thursday. Like, we're done. Like, they're going to try to show him the most support you can, but also understand this again. That starting point of he has all week to get the plays that he's comfortable with and be the starter, not just being thrown in the second quarter here. Hey, kid, get out there. You threw 5 passes this week against Scout Team. Now we need you to lead a victory here. We'll see how that one plays out. But let's go over to Drake May. 223.5 approximately is his passing prop, depending on where you're shopping around. I have high expectations for Drake May, but also now, Joe, this isn't young quarterback going on the road as an underdog trying to win. They're the favorites. They're expected to win. And last week and the previous weeks before that, Joe, we had a good run from Drake May. A little bit up in the air right now.
Yeah, it is. And again, that's why I think if we're looking at his numbers, Donnie, I lean to the under. And that sounds crazy, right? 223. But I think the rushing attack is going to be, very prevalent whether New England covers this line, especially on the road. Because what did we see last week? We saw James Cook break out with a 100-yard performance. It's just that Buffalo couldn't dictate the tempo. That game got away from them with the turnovers, and they couldn't really run the football the way they wanted to maybe establish the line of scrimmage and get it into a lower-scoring game in that matchup on the road. I think New England takes a different type of approach. I think they run the football with Stevenson and Henderson. That's the difference.
Hey, man, more on the Patriots and the Broncos coming up next right here on the SportsGrid Network.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Right back on Pro Football Today right here on the SportsGrid Network. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi taking a look at that New England-Denver game going to take place tomorrow at 3 p.m. That line, 4s and 4.5s now in the marketplace. Kind of interesting to see where that is going to settle down by the time we get to kickoff tomorrow. But the total, Joe, that's been on the rise all week. 40.5s to the opening number, 41.5s, now up to 42.5s, and even 43.5s, Joe, at some places here in the marketplace as we see this. That's just a derivative of, okay, we're not going to get any heavy snow. We're not going to get any heavy winds. It is going to be cooler temperatures. And I think people are coming around to the fact that Stidham might not be the answer as Joe Montana at quarterback, but can be serviceable.
Yeah, and I think to your point about Drake May, he was turnover prone last week. So even if you buy into New England and let's say, Denver can establish and force a couple of turnovers, it's a short field for Stidham in that offense, and they're going to put up points. Again, in championship games, unless your offense is totally inept, you got to go and score points. Yeah. It's never enough. So we're not talking about a 48 or a 49 number. We're talking 43.5, 24-20 gets you there in that type of situation. I like it. I still like it. Again, I like the over. I do like Denver with the points, but I think we could blow through this total just because, again, you have quarterback play that's not rookie-esque.
Yeah.
Drake May was an MVP candidate. I don't necessarily fall in love with Diggs and Booty. It's not Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson out there, but they could throw it over the top. And think about this. The way Douglas stepped up last week, the way they got the playmakers involved against one of the best front sevens in the NFL in Houston, they put up 20-plus points on that defense. Why can't Sean Payton and Denver do it at home?
Hey, take a look also at that Denver Broncos schedule. I do like their defense a lot, Joe, but let's be honest with a couple of these games. We'll start with the Packers game with about a month left in the season. They win 34-26, still go up 26 points. Then they play the Jaguars. They give up 34 points in that game. They say, okay, they play the Chiefs. Well, that game was without Patrick Mahomes. And then the Chargers to end the season, they were playing all of their backups. You jump right into the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills post 30 points on that defense. Points can be scored against Denver's defense. And the thing that New England Patriots defense, I don't think is even as good as the Denver defense. I think there's a legitimate chance we get the over because you're just spitballing, right, Joe? Both of these teams approaching 20 points. That doesn't send shot. I don't think the Broncos can get 20 in this game. No, I actually do think they can.
The only way you get screwed is if it's 6-3 at the half, right? And then you
Slow
get a
play
little, you get a little tight, and then all of a sudden, teams are looking to win a championship. Maybe you get a more, a little close to the vest with the play calling. But I don't see that right now. Again, especially I see more aggressiveness out of Sean Payton and Stidham. The fact that they are at home, the fact that they know they have home field, they have the defense behind them. You could afford to potentially take shots and maybe force the game onto Drake May a little bit more. If I'm Vrabel and I'm New England, I think I want to run it with Stevenson and Henderson. I want to establish the line of scrimmage. I want to score first and then obviously get after it with the defense. But if Denver gets the football first, I expect this offense to potentially challenge vertically the way they did against Buffalo. New England's defense is much more consistent, obviously, than the Bills. They had multiple holes. But still, I think both teams can move the football. Just look for it in different ways. And again, we're not talking high 40s. We're talking low 40s for the total.
And also, again, it is going to be cold temperatures in Denver, but that's normal for this time of year. Still should have some pretty good conditions to throw the football in, which brings me to my next topic, Joe. Wide receivers in this game. Courtland Sutton, the leader of the pack, only 46.5 receiving yards, followed by Diggs, Henry, Bryant, and Ingram. If you're looking at some passing options here for the catches, Joe, who comes to mind?
Well, I mean, I like Mims. Again, he's explosive at the point of attack, had a better relationship, I think, with Bo Nix. But we'll see, because, again, when we talk about the backups coming in, Donnie, they necessarily don't have that, number one mentality. They go to the secondary guys. It's underneath. It's the guys on the second and third team potentially that they work with. So Bryant's back in that offense. I lean to Marvin Mims through his total. Like him for an anytime touchdown. I'm always on Evan Ingram. I don't see any reason why Ingram can't be an option underneath. He has 19.5 as a total. If we're looking on the New England side, I do expect Hunter Henry to have a better option this week. And Booty has stepped up with that relationship with Drake May. I mean, both of those guys, Diggs and Booty, have hit pay dirt. I would say Booty has the better option this weekend, but because I think they lock down Diggs, but we'll see.
It is a fascinating matchup because, we're putting a lot of stock here on a quarterback that hasn't had very many starts. Like Stidham, 8 touchdown passes his career, 8 interceptions in his career. Not a lot of playing time, but also when you look at the players' rushing statistics, Ramondre Stevenson at 50.5 rushing yards. R.J. Harvey's the leader on the Broncos with 40.5, which means we're probably looking more passing than rushing in this game. Let me ask you this quick one on the quarterbacks, Joe. Both are listed at 19.5 completions, Stidham and May. Who do you trust to get that 20 completions?
Stidham.
Yeah? Wow.
I do.
See that?
I think it's the rushing attack for New England. I actually like Henderson more than I like Stevenson. We'll get into that.
We will get into that, too. And also getting into the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. That's the NFC Championship game tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to hit that next after this short break. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Lisi. It's the SportsGrid Network. Pro football today. No better place to be on a Saturday. Come on.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is It hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today, Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi here. Let's get into it. NFC Championship game, Joe. Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Many thought all season long these were the two best teams in the NFC, and they're finally going to do battle for a third time here on Sunday Night Football in Seattle. I want to start with the point spread right here, Joe. They open that line 2.5. All week long, it's 2.5. We're doing a show on Saturday right now. It's 2.5. I think tomorrow, by the time we get the kickoff, Joe, it's going to be 2.5.
You think so?
I do.
I think we might see threes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think we might see a flat 3. I think it's possible. Here's the thing. LA's been favored in both games, haven't covered.
Yeah.
They've won but haven't covered. Now they're in the championship game. They're dogs. To a team that they won the first meeting, right? 21-19 in their building. That was where they had a 60-yard field goal at the end. And then what were they winning in the second game? By like 20-plus points. And that was the game that Darnold brings them back, and they win it in overtime on the primetime matchup. But when you look at this team, and you look at the L.A. Rams, and you look at what they were able to do in back-to-back games against Carolina and the Bears, right? The Bears threw the kitchen sink at them defensively, and that's what they're going to have with Seattle. The question is, they played like rope-a-dope. They got through it. And now they know they have the better quarterback in this matchup. You know, can they break through and force Sam Darnold to play from behind in his building where the defense can't make just plays for you and coast? That's going to be the game plan. I love the over in this game. This is my. I will say this. We're not going to post my best bets, but I'll just throw it out. I love the total in this matchup because I do feel the Rams aren't complacent. They're going to go all systems go, throw haymakers at Seattle's defense, and if they break through early, they know they have potentially Darnold on the ropes. And it's not the regular season, Donnie. It's a playoff championship game, and we're not talking the 49ers decimated. They have playmakers at every level.
Here's the issue that I'm having with this game. And again, sometimes at this late in the season, Joe, we never get clean handicaps. Like we're getting Jarrett Stidham. We're trying to handicap how he's going to be against the New England Patriots. But also, if Sam Darnold was 100% healthy in this game and that line was 2.5, I love the Seattle Seahawks. I think they would beat them by a touchdown in this game. I do. But the fact of the matter is this. We saw last week Seattle was good enough and talented enough to blow the doors off the San Francisco 49ers without needing Sam Darnold as well. This weekend, limited practices all week, same type of structure he said is going to have this weekend, which means I'm really not going to throw the football in pregame, which leads me to believe, Joe, there is a scare that he still isn't right. And you say, well, okay, he managed it last week. That's fine. But understand this. Heavy pass rush coming at you, Joe. Juking some defenders, rolling out of the pocket. I got to flip that football down there 45 yards on a rope, and I tweak my oblique at this point. That's an issue for me in this game. So I'm on the opposite side of you with the total. I actually think it stays under 46.5 because I don't think you can have a shootout from Seattle's perspective. Seattle's going to have to win this game if Darnold is 75%, doesn't turn the football, and they play great defense because they do play great defense. But let me ask you this one point. Here's one of the toughest things I'm worried about for the Los Angeles Rams, Joe. It has nothing to do with their talent or their health right now. On the road at Carolina playoff game, tough one. Fly back from Carolina back to L.A., then you go back on the road to Chicago. Freezing cold temperatures here. Overtime game. You win that game. Fly all the way back again to the Rams. Third straight road game for the Rams. That's an issue. And also, Seattle didn't take that. Hey, we had a couple road games too. They had to bye. They've been at home for months at this point, and now they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, the last quarterback to do it was Brady, right? With Tampa, they won 3 straight road games and then won the Super Bowl. So we'll see exactly. I think, definitely the way the fact that it's 3 straight road games. And the fact that they performed, I want to say, under average last week, I think is why you're seeing the 2.5. Because let me ask you this. Seattle wins 41-6. Right? If L.A. went into Soldier Field, because the whole mindset last week was they could play in cold weather. They did it against Philly the year before. All the players. Puka, BYU, Corum at Michigan, Kyron at Notre Dame, they're built for this. If they win that game 28-7, do you think we're seeing 2.5 in the market?
They're favored.
You think they're favored?
I think the Rams actually would be favored if they hammered Chicago last week.
But,
I do.
So you're getting basically the Rams at a discount. You didn't get their effort, right? The defense got exposed at some levels, but they were able to get through it, and now they're dogs.
Yeah.
Here's the other factor too, and without Charbonnet in that lineup, they don't have the ground and pound with just Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be reliant on Kenneth Walker duplicating what he did last week. Now, he had 3 touchdowns. We know about the front 7 for the 49ers. They're weak, especially in run support. They took advantage of that. LA's going to come in and try and take away Kenneth Walker in this game, which then leads me to believe Darnold has to make that. You're not going to get away, Donnie, with JSN having 3 catches, 19 yards, and a touchdown, right? Not against Stafford and the Rams. And because even if the Rams aren't, let's say, 100% and hitting on all cylinders, they're still going to get close to 20, 23 points in this game. So then what does that mean for Darnold?
Yeah.
He's got to match that. We're talking 24, 28 points at least. So that's why I like the over, because I do feel the Rams are the team to dictate the tempo, whereas Seattle is going to be, if to your point, if he's not 100% healthy, they're really going to have to run the football elite in this matchup, and I just don't think they can.
It's great. Like, I love both of these defenses, more from a pass rushing perspective for the Los Angeles Rams. Totality for the Seattle Seahawks defense, I think, makes a lot of sense in this one. But if we are focused again on the quarterbacks, that age-old question is still going to come up. Like, again, Joe and I think a lot of public people would as well. We expect greatness out of Matthew Stafford. If we don't get it, we're a little bit surprised. Like, ooh, Stafford didn't bring his A game. And to your point, Joe, Stafford at the post-game press conference last week goes, it feels awesome to sit here. I didn't play well. We won. I'll take that every game of the week. So it's almost he knows, like, man, I didn't even play well, and we won. Let me put out my best effort. When we look at Sam Darnold, we're still going to be wondering. Like, they won 41-6 last week. What are we saying this week? Darnold's going to be in the spotlight again. I don't know if he can handle it. Like, he can't have a game where it's like, okay, 13 of 21, 132 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, win this game. He's got to be able to perform. That's what I'm struggling with the most this week, as I said. If Darnold was 100%, I really like Seattle. But I can't be left in the lurch like, Donnie, you took a quarterback that that can't throw that deep out now, and now you're under pressure.
Well, think about, to your point, Stafford was like relieved. He didn't play well, and he still threw for 258. Yeah. So let's say, okay, he's not at 100%. We'll give him 90%. He's throwing for at least 270 in this game now. So if he's going to throw for 270, what does Darnold realistically have to get to? It's not going to be 140 yards.
I don't think he throws for his 231, Joe. I don't think he throws. If you put the number at 250, let's just put it at that middle number, 250. I don't think Darnold goes over 250 yards.
If he doesn't,
I don't think he does.
But if he doesn't get anywhere near 2.25, they're dead.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm thinking about the scenario play out. Mm-hmm. The only way Darnold could throw for 175 and 200 is if Kenneth Walker's about $150 and they run for close to 200 yards, and their offense has to do nothing in this game. Because again, if I'm McVay and I know how my team sort of came out flat last week, and I wasn't at my best play calling wise, I'm not going to allow that to happen on the road. Right, especially knowing that this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm going to come out. I'm going to have the scripted plays. We're going to get the ball to Devontae and Puka, and we're going to look to pressure the offense of Seattle to play from behind, because if you play into them, you're going to be in a similar situation where they were with Chicago.
Yeah, you're right. And also, like, sometimes you have, like, let's just say a parlay that you like in the NBA. We'll use Steph Curry, best three-point shooter in the league. I want to put him in my parlay. And you go, well, you got to take over 5.5 three-point shots made. It's ridiculous.
I know.
For once in our life, it feels like, Joe, Matthew Stafford this entire season is always listed at 2.5 for touchdown passes. That's a starting point. You got to throw 3 to cash it. Like, I know he's going to get 2, but 3 is sometimes tough to get. Finally, Joe, Matthew Stafford over 1.5 touchdown passes, minus 132, serviceable.
That's a great number. I mean, I think he gets to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Again, I think when I play this game out, I think it's similar to what we saw in the last time they played in Seattle. I don't know if we get 77 points, but I think we get close to 50 or 55. I think that's more believable than a 21-17 game.
Here's what you like too, Joe. 45-degree temperatures.
Yeah.
No rain in the forecast. 1 mile per hour winds.
Perfect.
So you should have any issues whatsoever slinging it. If you want to sling it, well, let's get into some of these player props, including can Kenneth Walker III be that ground man again? We'll find out next. Joe Lisi and Donnie Rightside will be right back.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks NFC Championship game. Sunday Night Football, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Lisi. Going over this game and, whenever the weather conditions hit on the total, hit on the side, where that might wind up, that 2.5, I don't think it's changing. I don't think we get to the threes here unless injury information came out on Sam Darnold where it's much worse or it's actually much better. Maybe we see a half-point swing down to 2 or the 3 even. But the running game is going to be key here, Joe. Two good defenses, but Kenneth Walker III now expected to deliver as the leader in the clubhouse, meaning 20-plus touches. Now, everybody's going to, Charbonnet is down. Just go ahead and load up on Walker. 85.5 isn't a cheap number here, Joe. Let's start with Kenneth Walker III. You think he can get that 85.5 yards in this game, or too much for him where they just key on him?
I mean, he can. I'm not going to take away from Kenneth Walker and his ability. He can. But that's got to be, the number one priority for L.A. Now, Swift had 76 last week. I think Monangai got in the area of like 39. I still thought, they averaged 4.1 yards per carry, Chicago. They did a pretty good effort of running the football. They just didn't stick to it, I think, at certain times, right? They put the ball into Caleb's hands 42 times, and, that really handcuffed them in that matchup. But if you're L.A., I am not letting Kenneth Walker beat me. Yeah. I'm sorry. I am going to stuff the box and then say, if Darnold's 100%, prove it to me. And again, especially if they jump up early, it's game on. So I'm staying away from Walker in this game. If I'm taking running backs, I do lean to Kyren more than Walker. But that's just the way I'm playing it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Kyren does have a solid game, 53.5 as I'm just looking at FanDuel right now. You can't you go in and play the 12s. That crowd is going to be loud as this. It's a great defense. You can't just have Matthew Stafford dropping back 40 times in this game. You have to have that balance out, and I think Kyren Williams will give that to you, Joe. But you know me. The super secondary options I love. Puka Nacua and Rashid Shaheed, both listed at 4.5 as the rushing prop. It's up a little bit. They usually post those at like 3.5 or 2.5. No doubt in my mind, if you said, Donnie, Puka or Rashid, because Puka had a couple carries last week too. Rashid's going over 4.5 as his rushing prop, Joe. They can't seem to throw him the football, but you got to get the football in his hands. I think he's definitely going to get at least one of those rocket screens to the outside, lateral type plays, straight handoff when he's in motion. Give me that over 4.5. I love it.
Well, Shaheed, I've been on.
Yeah.
Anytime touchdown, so I get it with the
That's a beautiful way to get it.
Right?
Yeah.
Not the way I drew it up, but I've been on his receiving total,
Yeah.
Donnie. Why did they get this guy from New York? I understand.
If he's the fastest guy on the planet, get him the football.
I mean, he's got totals in the receiving game of 19 and a half. Like, you got to be kidding me. But to your point, they are utilizing him in reverses and fly sweeps.
Yep.
And he is a playmaker. It's not like he can't, break out in space. I think he is the X factor for Seattle. As much as we talk about JSN and everyone else, if they could get the football, not just in the rushing attack, but in the passing game to Rashid, that opens up everything in the offense. Barner then could open up. JSN can, again, feeding JSN is great, but you need those tertiary options, and Shaheed is 4.3, 40.
Yeah. You should be. You figure you have a perfect offense. You have a solid tight end. You have a good running game. You have a solid offensive line. You have your number one wide in JSN. You have a burner in Shaheed, and you have a decent intermediate guy in Cooper Kupp.
It's not like he can't.
I don't know. It's one of those things where he's doing so many good things on special teams it covers up for. It's like, no, he's actually a legitimate deep threat, and you don't use him as a deep threat. Like, that should be, Joe, once per quarter, take a shot with him down the field, but they haven't been doing it. But the other wide receiver options, Joe, Puka Nacua 91.5. JSN 90.5. If we just start at the top of the heap, it has to be Nacua for me, even though it's a better defense, because I just don't know what I'm getting out of Darnold. I can't go Jackson Smith and Jigba over 90.5 yards if my quarterback's telling me, well, I'm not going to throw in warm-ups. Get out of here.
No, I mean, but he is more important, JSN, to Seattle than Nacua.
Didn't do anything last. He scored a touchdown, didn't really catch any passes.
Well, because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
But in this game, if I told you Puka had 50, JSN had 30, who could like, my point is, you still have Devontae.
Yeah.
You still have Higbee and Parkinson that had 56 yards. You have Terrence Ferguson, Blake Corum and Kyram. If I told you JSN's getting 40 yards, are you feeling confident that Seattle's winning?
No.
Right, so that's why if we're looking at both guys, and I know Darnold's banged up, but it is imperative that JSN gets to that number just because of just what you said.
Yeah.
Barner had no catches last week.
Yeah.
Shaheed is non-existent in the passing attack. Who's more important to that offense in the passing game? It is JSN because they don't use anybody else.
It's true. And maybe Cooper Kupp steps up. And also, like, when you talk about, Joe, those secondary options specific at the wide receiver position, like, you have those two guys in the 90s, which means everybody else is going to be cheap. Let's remove Devontae Adams, 49.5, legitimate threat. We get that. Cooper Kupp, 29.5. Shaheed, 22.5. Barner, 28.5. By the way, I actually liked Barner last week. He didn't catch a pass last week. Was he even on the screen? I don't know.
I think he hits pay dirt. He's plus 175 this week. I did alt him. He's plus 116, 118 in that area for 25 plus. Yeah, look, in this game, you have to utilize the tight end, especially in critical third down situations, red zone opportunities. I don't buy into the consistency. I know Kupp had a big day last week, but again, he's aging. He's going up against his former team. He hasn't really looked good to me at times. I would buy in on the two guys for Seattle, Barner and Shaheed. Again, you got Shaheed for a specific reason. If you're not going to utilize him in the championship game, when? I mean, again, it's Barner, Shaheed, and on the LA side, I did buy into Devontae anytime touchdown. You want to give me him at plus 125 this week? I'll take it every time of the week.
Yeah, him and Puka actually plus money wagers on either one of them, so one of them gets a touchdown, be plus money. Joe, I know you love running backs out of the backfield. Zach Charbonnet's not going to play in this game. We already know that, down with a knee injury. Kenneth Walker's listed at 20.5 receiving yards. Quarterback's banged up. There's nobody you like that?
No? I mean, I do in the receiving game. I think it is Corum. How about that? I'll take a shot with Corum. Because, again, look at this. Are they going to run Kenneth without, like, Charbonnet in that matchup? One would do the heavy groundwork. The other one would sort of catch the football. Are they going to give Kenneth Walker 25 carries and 6 touches in the passing game? It just seems odd.
Yeah, we're interested to see how that's going to actually play out because you're used to that 1-2 punch, and it's a dynamic punch for Seattle that now has it on one, which Kenneth Walker's like, sign me up, coach, but until you've gone out there and played 85% of the snaps like a Christian McCaffrey, that's a lot of wear and tear. Maybe you fumble the football. Maybe you take your eyes off it here. We'll see if that one plays out that way. But this is going to be a great, great Sunday afternoon of action between the AFC and the NFC. And also a little Saturday morning crunch coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today on a Saturday. No action today, but certainly the action is going to be on fire coming on Sunday right here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Lisi. You know what we like to do at this time of the show, Joe? Come on now.
Crunch?
A little Saturday morning crunch. Now, why are you staying away from the crunch today?
Because I'm going to be giving my crunch tomorrow. It's
Nah,
not like we have
yeah, but here's what you do.
I'll throw in some crunches.
You put the crunch in today. You take the day off tomorrow, man. Like, you don't even got to do that segment. You know what I mean?
This is the real show.
This is the real show today that we're doing.
The show
before the show that practices for the next show. That's going to be coming up here, Joe. I actually went with my Saturday morning crunch. Obviously, tomorrow's game, 6:30 p.m. All three, Joe, from that one. I think you're going to get a kick out of one of them as well. The first one, like Sam Darnold. If he's healthy, I think Seattle runs away with this football game, and I think they win it easy. Sam Darnold's not healthy. He can tell you whatever he wants. But if you are limited at practice, and then you're telling the press and also saying, well, yeah, I liked what I did last week. I didn't throw in pregame warm-ups. I'll throw like 2 passes in a locker room, and then I'll come out and play football. I can't trust you. You might win that football game, but you're not going to be on your P's and Q's, Joe. Under 235.5 passing yards, and it's already starting to come down now in the marketplace here. I can't trust Sammy D, not because I don't think he's good or can step up, Joe. I can't trust the injuries. I can't.
Well, if let's just say he can't go, or like he's not a...
Yeah.
Do you have any confidence in Drew Lock?
No, come on, man. It's pick six city all over the place.
So I'm gonna break. You like the Rams in the matchup?
Right now, yes, I do.
I lean to the Rams too. I don't love it. I don't love it, but I do feel we get points. We disagree on that, but to your point, if he's not 100%, and again, you'll know early whether he's pushing the football down the field. Under 231.5 is not a bad bet. I expect Stafford to get through his number, so Darnold better get through his. But you're right. We'll see it early. And then that means a heavy dose of we just looked now, Kenneth Walker and George Helani.
There you go.
He averaged 3.3 yards per carry on 23 carries, 75 yards on the season. He's going to make up for Zach Charbonnet tomorrow.
And again, I say this. If Sam Darnold had no injury questions, I would be all over the Seattle Seahawks. That's what I'll be doing.
I'm just curious because we always say the books, like, they get the info. They're very rarely on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning, like, price-wise, they very rarely get clipped. I always say the books know before anybody else. So, are you shocked that the total opened up right in the area of 47.5, which is basically 28-20?
I wasn't shocked that we were close to 50 in the total. I really wasn't, because from what they got out of it, you had some good weather. Because I think what they were expecting, Joe, similar to myself, put Darnold out there and see what he does. And it's like, we don't know if he's healthy or not. You didn't get anything out of that. Like, if Darnold Joe threw 45 times last week and was the catalyst for the 41-6 win, we'd be like, this is going to go way over.
You're right. But then to play devil's advocate, let me just say this.
Okay.
The fact that he didn't throw as much
worries me. Now it makes it worse.
I know it does.
Yeah.
But from the health perspective, you got to believe, okay, he took it easy.
Yeah.
He's still in the same, let's say he was still in the same spot that he was before the game at the end of the game. But now he's got a full week now to rest. Does that maybe, temper your maybe like, all right, puts it at ease a little bit, or you
know what would have put me at ease? And they could have lied about it. I'm glad they didn't. Limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Now, usually Friday's a lighter practice, right? Throw 2 passes, we'll put you full, and then we take it off. Limited Friday again. Do you know, they didn't give me reason, Joe, to say, I'm really excited about Darnold.
They're playing rope-a-dope?
They could be. But look, do you remember when it was Ben Roethlisberger's shoulder injury before the Denver game? Didn't throw all week, didn't come out to throw, rips off a 65-yard bomb to start the game. Like, okay, it's gamesmanship. I want to say it is, but maybe it's not at this point, Joe. Number 2 on my morning crunch. I already told you this, man. Rashid Shaheed, 4.5 rushing yards. They are going to get he is going to have 2 non-catches in this game on offense. And if he doesn't get 4.5 yards, then so be it.
I want him to hit pay dirt because he's got a great number. Plus 230, I think, or in the 2s to hit pay dirt. But again, 4.5, that's one reverse. Right? And they do utilize them, and they want to get them out in space. They just can't devise any type of pass plays to get this guy the football. It's amazing. And then the ones that they do have, they're not even close. He can't even catch them. So I like the look. I think he could do it on the ground. I actually think he could do it through the air.
And by the way, shout out last week, man. Curtis Samuel over a half-yard receiving. He gets 1 yard on that.
Did you see the one that he missed?
I saw the one he missed, and when he got the one at the end, I laughed because that's how you want to win that. Like, give me the 1 yard. You know what I mean? So that was fantastic.
Let me just tell you quick before you do your crunch.
Yeah.
He was 6.5 on FanDuel and 8 on DraftKings. A half a yard where we found it was unbelievable.
Around, man. Shop around. And by the way, no touchdown for JSN on Kalshi, Joe. $100 wager pays back $193. You can bet no's on touchdowns, Joe, on the predictive markets.
You can. It's great. I mean, again, if he doesn't score, that's a huge blow to Seattle. They're not going to win. I mean, he's a huge red zone option for them.
Did you ever hear of Prediction Markets Edge, Joe?
No, never.
What a show, people. Hour number 2 is on the way next. Let's get after it.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on